Thank you. Okay. So the proposition that's set out in this report is that we would gradually, slowly but steadily, over perhaps a decade, perhaps a little more, move to a much shorter working week with 21 hours as the goal. That this would be a kind of a flexible arrangement. We're not thinking about sending in the time police, but it would be, and it could be distributed across a month or a year. So we're looking for maximum flexibility. We would like to move to the point where the standard working week is 21 hours. So that's the proposition. And there are really 4 sets of reasons why we think this is worth very serious consideration. The first one is the immediate practical response to the current political and economic situation. So, I mean, David referred to this. We anticipate deep cuts in public spending. We've got a lot of talk about building a so-called big society. Now, at the heart of Cameron's vision about the big society is more direct action by citizens. You've got more volunteering, more community organisations doing things for themselves, especially in deprived areas. A bigger role for charities, cooperatives, social enterprises, and so on. So when you put that hand in hand with drastic deficit reduction, what you've got is plans for a pretty massive transfer from paid to unpaid labour. Whether we like it or not, that's what's on the agenda. Maybe not quite put that way. So there is a very big imbalance now in the distribution of paid and unpaid time. So some people have got more time. Of course, we will have the same amount of time. The critical thing is how much control do we have over the time? How much freedom do we have to use our time in ways that are in our interests? The great big imbalances there, particularly between women and men. In spite of everything, women still do a huge amount more unpaid work than men do. But also between those on lower and higher incomes. Obviously, we've got unemployment rising up towards 3 million now, but at the same time, you've got this imbalance where there are people who feel themselves to be underemployed, and people who feel themselves to be having to work every moment that they're given in order to make ends meet. So you've got all these imbalances in the way that people work now. So, and you've got these new demands on time, which we may have our own critique of, but there they are, demands on time for people. So if we move to a shorter working week, it would help to distribute paid work more evenly across the population. Although, of course, we're not pretending this would be an automatic thing. It's not. It would depend essentially on measures being put in place to ensure that you can enable people who can't slip into the labour market easily to do so, tackling the skills gaps and all sorts of things of that kind. But there is an opportunity there to redistribute the paid work more evenly between people. So instead of having a lot of people with a lot of time in paid work and some people with no time in paid work and some people who feel that they're underemployed, you can spread that more evenly. And at the same time, you can spread unpaid time more evenly so that women as well as men have men as well as women have unpaid time available to do all the things that we do unpaid in our lives, as well as redistributing unpaid time between higher income groups and lower income groups of people in different kinds of work. So the idea would be that a much wider range of people would have an opportunity to do things in their own neighbourhoods for themselves and their families and their neighbours and their friends and so on. There's plenty to criticise about the big society, but there's at least one strand in there that's useful. And that is that we do all become more capable and more powerful, both as individuals and as groups, so that we take more control over our own lives and our own well-being. So we're not passive recipients of services, things that are done to us, but we become active agents in our own right, agents of change, or however you want to describe it. And this refers to quite a big piece of work we're involved in at NEF, where we talk about the importance of growing the core economy. So we accept we can't grow the market economy, we certainly can't grow the natural economy, but we have the core economy that we can grow, and that is the economy that's made up of all the uncommodified assets that people have. So that the love and care and the teaching and learning. So it's in everyday life, it's in the relationships we have with each other, and these are all really incredibly important human resources that can be brought to bear to help us to live together and look after each other better than we do now. These are assets that have been undervalued and unpriced, and so they should be in many respects, but we could make more of them. And we could make more of them without simply dumping on those who already do most of the unpaid work, mainly women, if we had a better distribution, a more equal distribution of unpaid time. So without this kind of drastic reduction in the standard paid working week, there's a real danger that the whole thrust of the big society agenda will just add to the burden of those who already have least, are already disadvantaged and disempowered. So that's one set of reasons. Second set of reasons is that a shift towards a much shorter working week is essential if we're going to build a sustainable economy that is also fair. Now, Andrew's touched on the whole very big discussion about a no-growth economy, the future of the reasons why we can't look forward to more economic growth. It may be unlikely because of the state of the economy anyway, but it's also undesirable because we can't grow the economy without depleting the natural resources on which we all depend anyway. So we need a no-growth economy. Now, economists like Tim Jackson and Peter Victor have looked at, pinpointed this business of reducing the paid working week as a key piece of the jigsaw. It's really probably the only variable, the only thing we've got left really to think about moving around so that we can have an economy that continues to flourish without growing and without widening social inequalities. So it's important for the economy. That's the second reason.